Yes, it's questions and answers today. Questions from Dave Shore, answers from me, specifics about our time together in Tiburon. And let me first set the table by letting you know that Dave, of course, is one of us. He's going to be there in Tiburon when we finally get the green light. But currently, he is the COO of the ALS Association chapter in North Carolina, but also has spent his entire life, his professional life, in the sports business, which is two of my favorite topics. One, sports, two, business. So when he had some questions, I said, who better to ask questions than him, and to make sure that we get clarity and answers from me. So right now I'm going to introduce you to Dave Shore from North Carolina, where it's currently, did you say 106?
Heat index.
Heat index.
Yeah. Yeah. So this isn't like, when you go to Phoenix and they say it's a dry heat and I say, yeah, right. So is your oven when you stick your head in it. It definitely is a humid heat here close to the Atlantic Ocean, or at least 2.5, 3 hours away from the Atlantic Ocean. So yeah, it's survival mode, but that's all we're doing, I guess, now in this COVID time period. But yeah, Lawrence, all my reporting years, I love to ask questions, and I know you've got the answers. I think, the one that topped my mind when this all started to kind of streamline a little bit and you sharing some of the information is still, how's this going to look at the end? I like to reverse engineer things. So what are we going to walk away from Tiburon with that will help what Jason had, I thought, started to do, and that is start to pass on the legacy and have us be the walking soldiers and the voice of his hard work and your hard work moving on.
Yeah, that's a great way. From the very beginning, we started reverse engineering things from the results that clients wanted back to how are we going to deliver those. And so it became a fascination for the both of us. And you're exactly right. That's what you want to take a look at. So what did he say? He said, in the grandest scheme, you'll be able to speak, you'll be able to write, you'll be able to develop, train, consult in my name, and that he would share everything. And that is the big picture. Now, in reverse engineering that, I took a quick look at it and said, okay, what are we going to do so that you can train, you can consult, you can write, and at any level you can speak? And so I began to take that apart and say, well, what do you have to be good at in order to be able to do that? And there's certainly, the material has to be there, but there's also a number of things that have to be there in terms of upping all of our skill levels so that we can now take this out to the world as it exists right now and as it's going to exist in the future. So what I did was I said, okay, we did get a formula for creating solutions, and we got that from Mike Long. And he was, as you remember, in the Reinventors, he was highlighted in there. And he said to us at one point, he said, look, if you're going to be in the solutions providing and the solutions business, there's 3 steps. He said, first of all, you've got to find something that's giving people fits. And what he meant by that was something that's really bothering them. Bothering them enough so that they'll spend money on it. Now, the second thing you have to do is you have to fix it. And that's where most people just drop the ball, because they just say, okay, I found something that's going to give them fits, and we got something on the shelf here, and we'll just present that to them. No, it's got to fix it. But then the third level is, and this was the business level inside of Mike Long, he said, and then, of course, you've got to scale it. So those are 3 separate disciplines, and those are the ones that we are going to use to structure our time together. So day 1 is all about how do you find things that are giving people fits. And that's where we get into that one big thing, the discovery.
Good.
Day 2 is going to be all about everything that we've collected up to now, and then every individual's view themselves of how these things are the solution to the things, or the foundation of a new solution to the things that are going on in business. And then day 3 is going to be about how are we going to scale this? How will we take it forward from here with a roadmap with specifics. So that's the way I saw it coming together using your analogy of reverse engineering.
Yeah, that's a great answer, and that's what I hoped would be the answer, Lawrence. And I think that one of the things that I was thinking is that we all have different skill levels in terms of what we do. I know that any time that I was asked to speak at a conference, it was usually based on the fact that I had traveled with the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Mavericks and Los Angeles Lakers and Kentucky Wildcats. And so they wanted me to share the stories that I had learned from winners. So talking was no problem with me, and relating the stories that I was along the way with was no problem either. But, most of the time they just wanted to know how these things all tied together into what they were trying to do. And it was always a good conference starter for the start of the day while everybody was kind of in a good mood, or just before happy hour when they wanted to talk a little sports. So I guess, we all have a different way that we could package ourselves and still use the framework of some of the things that we're talking about here. So I think that gives us a lot of benefits moving forward.
Really, I agree with that. And as you know, I've been doing one-on-one conversations with numerous people that are a part of this. And what I've found is that there are strengths that sort of fit into this jigsaw puzzle so that no person has to be an island. No person has to really consider that if I can't cover all the bases. Now, you just mentioned one of them, which we'll also get to in just a second, but you said, look, I've done a lot of work in sports. Well, I've done a lot of explaining the stories of sports and use that so that they could see the connection. Well, that's a big, big part of providing a solution, is getting people to see something, and the best way to get them to see it is a story. However, we also have people who've got particular experience, not in your area, but in scaling things. Some of them from the financial area, which is always important, not only to know that you're right, but to also be able to share that with somebody and to say, well, these are the results that we're going to look for. But also people who have taken various business ideas and said, okay, now to make this operational amongst a group of people, many of whom are more average than, I may be a little above average in terms of my execution skills. They're going to be a little bit more regular. So how do we scale it for them? So we've got that in there. And then we've also got some people who have done quite a bit of work in the area of creating solutions. So what's that mean? It means that we're going to have a confederation of people that can coordinate, communicate, and cooperate, which makes you, in anything that you do, I think, one, it just makes you that much more complete, and it also makes you that much stronger in terms of actually providing a solution.
I thought I had a whole list of questions, but you know what? By the time we went through 2 questions and answers right there, I think that makes it gives me a little bit more clarity.
That leads me to my one big question for you. What do you think, because you've talked about this a lot, that business can learn / emulate from sports?
That to me is an easy one, but it comes in 2 parts. The first is I asked Coach Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K at Duke. I asked him, why is it that so many of them can command 6-figure speaking fees from Fortune 500 companies, and they do it consistently? And he said, Dave, it's the explanation of what they want is very simple. Most of the time, they ask me, please tell us, as large companies and small companies, how you're able to get 14 guys centered at the beginning of a season on one goal, and you keep them moving in the same direction towards that goal throughout the year. That's part one. Second of all, a lot of times people ask me, tell me about certain guys that you traveled with. Two of the ones that I'm asked about the most is Kobe, the late Kobe Bryant, when I traveled with the Lakers, and the other is Dirk Nowitzki, who is a future Hall of Famer from the Dallas Mavericks. And so I said, you know what, it's very easy to tell you the difference in those guys and the rest of the guys I traveled with. Both of those guys had the very similar habit that when we pulled up at a hotel the night before in a city, it didn't matter what time of the night it was. It could be 8:30 at night. It could be 10:30. It could be 11. It didn't matter. All the other guys went up to their hotel room to eat or play video games or whatever they did. Kobe and Dirk always did the same thing. They asked a trainer if they could grab a car and go over to the arena to shoot. Simple as that. It was those guys are future Hall of Famers. The other guys have to work very hard every day, and they just don't know that one extra step to get them to the Hall of Fame status. It was very simple. It was just one of those things that I got a chance to visualize, but it really separated the good from the
Thank you
great.
very much for setting this up with me, and thank you for your time. We'll talk again between the two of us, and that's questions and answers today.